The massive view screen on the bridge of Earth Defense Force headquarters showed the alien ships hanging in space. Admiral William Hart watched with narrow eyes as the strange vessels drifted closer to Earth's defense line. These Zoran ships had shown up 90 days ago. They sent messages of peace on all radio channels. This should have been the greatest moment in human history. Instead, it was turning into a disaster. "Sir, alien ship is slowing down at the outer marker," said Officer Ryan Cooper, his fingers moving quickly over the control panel. "Still broadcasting friendship messages." Hart nodded but didn't take his eyes off the screen. "Maintain alert status. Keep all weapon systems ready but not locked." The Admiral rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept well since the meeting with Hughes. The aliens went bad 3 days ago. Everything had started so well. The Zorans looked almost beautiful with their light blue skin that you could partly see through. They had 6 fingers on each hand and large eyes that seemed kind. They spoke through machines that turned their singing language into English. For 6 hours, humans and aliens talked about culture, science, and trade. Then General Martinez mentioned Earth's space fleet. He said it was just normal information. Sharing. No one expected what happened next. The aliens froze. Their skin turned from blue to gray in seconds. They started making high sounds that hurt human ears. The leader, who called himself Zek's Tool, suddenly stood up. His long fingers shook as he backed away from the table. "Emergency exit required," he had said through the translator. "Extreme danger detected. Humans are hunters, humans are predators." Before anyone could explain, the aliens ran from the room. Within an hour, their small ship left Earth orbit and rushed back to their fleet. Now Hart stood watching the growing problem. 10 more alien ships had arrived yesterday. They stayed far from Earth but kept sending messages. Intelligence officer Patricia Miller walked up beside Hart. She carried a tablet with new information. "They're scared to death of us, sir," she said. Not just worried, completely terrified. Hart turned to her with confusion on his face. "But why? We just told them about standard defense systems. Every nation has an army. Every planet would have defenses." Miller shook her head and showed him the report on her tablet. "That's what's so strange. Our science team has been studying their messages and biology. Look at this. The Zorans evolved from prey animals. Their entire history developed without the idea of attacking others. They understand defense, but the concept of hunting or attacking another thinking species is completely shocking to them." Hart stared at the report. "That's impossible. How could they build spaceships without ever fighting wars?" "Their history took a different path," Miller explained. "When faced with threats, they always ran or hid. They built better hiding places, better escape methods. Their technology focused on defense, sensors, and shields. They explored space to find safe places, not to conquer." The Admiral looked back at the screen where more alien ships gathered at the edge of the solar system. No species could advance so far without developing weapons. "Their messages have changed, sir," said Communications Officer Pete Daniels from his station. "Listen to this latest one." He played the translated message. "Humans of Earth, please reconsider deployment of your lethal attack vessels. We seek only peaceful coexistence. Your predator nature frightens us, but we wish to understand. Please do not approach with war machines." Hart frowned. "They sound desperate." "They are," Miller said, "but there's something else going on. Why bring more ships if they're so scared? It doesn't add up." The emergency alarm sounded suddenly. Red lights flashed across the command center. "Sir," shouted Cooper from the sensor station. 5 more alien ships just appeared behind the moon. They're using some kind of stealth technology." The giant screen showed new ships moving into position. These looked different, darker with strange patterns on their hulls. "Are they Zoran?" Hart asked quickly. "Unknown design, sir," Cooper replied. "But they're powering up something. Energy readings are off the charts." Hart hit the communication button. "Get me the president now." The screen split to show the worried face of President Wilson. "Admiral Hart, please tell me you have good news." "Madam President, we have a developing situation. New alien ships have arrived. They don't match Zoran designs." Miller studied her data pad and suddenly looked up with fear in her eyes. "Sir, new message from the Zoran fleet. They're saying They're saying these new ships belong to something called the Vex Collective. They're warning us to prepare for attack. This doesn't make sense, Hart said. Are they working together? Is this a trick? Before anyone could answer, Officer Cooper shouted, "Energy spike from the new vessels. They're firing." Everyone watched in shock as beams of bright purple energy shot out from the new ships. But they didn't aim at Earth. Instead, they hit two Zoran vessels, cutting through them instantly. The Zoran ships broke apart in silent explosions. "My God," whispered President Wilson. The main screen lit up with an urgent message from the Zoran fleet. "Humans, we came to warn you. The Vex followed us here. They destroy all they find. We offered you protection in our alliance, but you saw us as threats. Now we all face extinction." An alert sounded as dozens more dark ships appeared from behind Mars. "Madam President," Hart said firmly, "we need to deploy the fleet immediately." The president nodded grimly. "Do what you must, Admiral." Hart turned to his command staff. "All ships prepare for combat. Phoenix Squadron will take front position and send a message to the Zoran fleet. Tell them we understand now and we're coming to help." As Earth's powerful warships powered up their engines and launched from their bases, the Zoran messages became increasingly desperate. What had started as pleas to avoid conflict now became pleas for Earth's help. Humanity was about to discover that sometimes being dangerous wasn't such a bad thing after all. Captain Samantha Wells grabbed the edge of her command chair as her ship, the EDF Phoenix, moved into position. The large view screen showed at least 20 Zoran ships ahead of them. The alien vessels were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth, blue-silver hulls that curved like seashells. "Status report," Wells ordered, her voice calm despite the tension on the bridge. Lieutenant Greg Powell looked up from the weapons console. "All systems ready, Captain. Missiles loaded. Energy cannons charged," Wells nodded. "Are the Zoran ships doing anything threatening?" "No, Captain," Powell said with a confused look. "They're just sitting there. They've put up some kind of energy field around their ships, but our scans show it's defensive only. The strange thing is, we can't find any weapons on their ships at all." "That's impossible," Wells said. "No spaceship would travel without protection." Communications Officer Olivia Taylor suddenly raised her hand. "Captain, incoming message from the Zoran fleet. They're broadcasting on all channels. Put it on." "Screen," Wells ordered. The main screen changed to show a Zoran alien. Its skin was light blue and slightly see-through. It had two large eyes that reminded Wells of a deer's eyes, wide, dark, and somehow sad. The alien's six-fingered hands moved nervously. "Humans of Earth," the alien spoke through its translator. "Please try to understand us. Our kind has never made what you call weapons of attack. We grew up different from you. Our history taught us to hide, to run, to protect, but never to hunt or attack. For many hundreds of years, we have traveled among the stars. We have met many different peoples. Never once did we fight them. Please do not send your warships against us." Wells exchanged looks with her second-in-command, John Bailey. "They really do seem scared of us," Bailey said quietly. Wells studied the alien on screen. "If they're so peaceful, why bring so many ships to Earth? Something doesn't add up." As if hearing her question, the Zoran continued speaking. "We came to your world with an important warning. The Vex Collective has heard your radio signals. They are coming to your solar system. Unlike us, the Vex love to destroy. They attack without mercy. We wanted to offer Earth protection in our defense alliance, but now we fear we have made a terrible mistake." "What mistake?" Wells asked, leaning forward. Before the alien could answer, loud alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed on every console. "Captain," Powell shouted. "New ships appearing. At least 15 vessels coming in fast. They're not Zoran design." The tactical screen showed dark, jagged ships moving quickly toward both the human fleet and the Zoran vessels. "Show me," Wells ordered. The main screen split to show the new arrivals. Where the Zoran ships were smooth and curved, these were sharp and angular, like black throwing stars moving through space. They radiated menace. "Are they powering weapons?" Wells asked. Powell nodded grimly. "Yes, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts. They're... A flash of blinding purple light cut him off. Everyone on the bridge watched in horror as a beam of energy shot from one of the black ships. It cut through a Zoran vessel like it was made of paper. The alien ship broke apart silently, pieces drifting away into space. The Vex, Wells whispered. They followed the Zorans here. All stations battle ready, she commanded, her training taking over. Raise shields, power all weapons. Captain, called Taylor from communications. Emergency message from Admiral Hart. Hart's face appeared on screen. He looked grim. Captain Wells, the situation has changed. The Zorans were telling the truth. These new arrivals, the Vex, are attacking both their ships and our outer defenses. We believe the Zorans really did come to warn us. Another flash lit up space as a second Zoran ship was destroyed. Admiral, the Zoran ships have no weapons, Wells reported. They're sitting ducks out there. Hart nodded. Then we need to protect them. The President has authorized defensive action against the Vex ships, but there's more. We need the Zorans. Alive. Their defensive technology might be our only hope. Understood, sir, Wells replied. As she closed the channel, 3 more Vex ships appeared on the tactical display. They're charging weapons again, Powell warned, aiming at both us and the Zorans. Wells made a quick decision. Move to intercept. Position us between those Vex ships and the nearest Zoran vessels. Bailey looked surprised. Captain, that will put us directly in their line of fire. That's the idea, Commander, Wells said with a small smile. Let's show these Vex what human ships can do. Unlike the Zorans, we don't just know how to defend, we know how to fight back. Vex ships firing, Powell shouted. The Phoenix shook as enemy fire struck its shields. The lights flickered briefly. Damage report, Wells demanded. Shields at 72%, the engineering officer reported. That was just one hit. Wells gripped her chair. Return fire, all weapons. The Phoenix's missile batteries launched in a coordinated pattern. Seconds later, energy cannons fired bright blue beams toward the nearest Vex ship. The bridge crew watched as their missiles struck the enemy vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Vex ship's dark hull cracked, and explosions rippled along its surface. Direct hit, Powell exclaimed. Enemy ship is breaking up. A cheer went up around the bridge, but Wells remained focused. 2 more coming in fast. Reload and prepare for another attack. Taylor called out from her station. Captain, the Zoran ships are moving behind us. They're extending their energy fields. Wells nodded. Good. Let them handle defense while we take care of offense. As the Phoenix prepared to face the next wave of Vex ships, Wells realized something important. The Zorans had never lied. They really didn't understand attack or aggression. And that made Earth's warships, the very things that had frightened the aliens, their only hope for survival. Open a channel to the Zoran leader, Wells ordered. Tell them to stay behind. Us. We'll handle the fighting. As the message went out, another thought struck her. 2 species, evolved along completely different paths, might just be exactly what each other needed to survive. General Frank Martinez walked quickly across the war room as reports came in from all over the solar system. The large screens on the wall showed the battle unfolding in space. Red dots representing Vex ships moved toward Earth. Blue dots for Zoran ships were gathered in defensive groups. Green dots showed Earth's military vessels engaging the enemy. Give me the latest update, Martinez demanded. Strategic analyst Lucy Rodriguez pointed to the main display. The Phoenix squadrons have engaged the Vex here near Mars orbit. We've lost 3 ships so far, but they've managed to destroy 7 Vex vessels. Martinez frowned. And the Zorans, what are they doing? They're mostly hiding behind our ships, Rodriguez said. Their shields can absorb some Vex attacks, but they have no way to fight back. It's like watching sheep trying to survive a wolf. Attack! The general studied the tactical screen carefully. In his 30 years of military service, he had never imagined a situation like this. Aliens who couldn't fight? It seemed impossible. So the Zorans were telling the truth all along, he said quietly. They really don't have weapons. Yes, sir, Rodriguez nodded. And now we understand why they were so afraid of us. From their perspective, we look just like the Vex, a species that attacks others. A young communications officer raised his hand. Sir, we're getting a direct message from the Zoran main ship. Put it through, Martinez ordered. The voice that came through the speakers sounded tired but determined. Human defenders, we see now that we judged you wrongly. You have the ability to attack, yes, but also the choice of when to use it. The Vex do not have such control. They destroy everything they find. Our defense technology can protect but cannot beat them. We offer to share all our knowledge with you, if you will help us survive. Martinez didn't hesitate. Tell them we accept, then get me a direct line to Admiral Hart and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We're forming an alliance with the Zorans. Within hours, Earthships were moving into new positions alongside Zoran vessels. The plan was simple but powerful. Combine human weapons with Zoran shields. Together, they might create something neither species could achieve alone. Captain Wells watched as strange blue-skinned aliens worked beside her crew on the bridge of the Phoenix. Zoran engineers moved with careful precision as they connected their technology to the ship's systems. It's amazing, said Engineering Chief Alan Foster, watching the aliens work. Their whole history focused on protection instead of attack. These shields could stop almost anything. Even a nuclear blast wouldn't get through. And our weapons can finally give them a fighting chance, Wells replied. The Phoenix had been paired with 3 Zoran vessels. While the humans provided offensive power, the aliens extended their advanced shield technology around all 4 ships. 2 more Vex attackers had been destroyed, and not a single ship in their small group had been lost. A tall Zoran approached Wells. This one wore a silver band around its head, marking it as a leader. It spoke through a small translation device. Captain Wells, the shield integration is at 89% completion. Your weapon systems draw more power than we expected. Wells nodded. Human weapons need a lot of energy. Can your systems handle it? The Zoran made a gesture that seemed like a smile. Our entire civilization developed around energy management. We can handle it. Across the bridge, Lieutenant Powell had been showing a younger Zoran how Earth's targeting systems worked. The alien seemed both fascinated and disturbed. You actively aim at the enemy's most vulnerable points? The Zoran asked, its large eyes growing even wider. Powell nodded. That's the whole idea of an attack. Find the weakness and hit it hard. The Zoran's skin changed color slightly, turning from blue to a pale green. In our history, such thinking would be considered wrong. Causing harm intentionally is not part of our nature. Powell looked confused. Then how do you handle threats? We detect them early and escape, the Zoran explained. Or we hide behind shields until the danger passes. Over thousands of years, we became very good at both. Wells listened to this conversation with great interest. That explains why your sensor technology is so advanced. You needed early warning systems instead of weapons. The lead Zoran nodded. Just as your weapon systems are advanced because you evolved as hunters. Different paths, but both valid. A sudden alarm interrupted them. On the main screen, a new group of Vex ships appeared. 12 more enemy vessels detected. Powell called. Out. They're heading straight for Earth. Wells turned to the Zoran leader. Are the new shields ready? Yes, Captain. They should hold against the Vex weapons. Good, Wells said, moving to her command chair. Because we're about to put them to the test, all hands to battle stations. Back in the Earth Defense Headquarters, General Martinez watched as the combined human-Zoran fleet moved to intercept the new Vex attack group. What he saw amazed him. The Earthships now glowed with a shimmering blue light, Zoran shield technology. They could take direct hits that would have destroyed them before. And the Zoran ships, normally defenseless, now fired human weapons from behind their powerful shields. Look at that, Rodriguez said with wonder in her voice. The Phoenix just took 3 direct hits and its shields are still at 82% strength. Martinez nodded. And the Zoran vessels are actually fighting back now. They're using our weapon designs. On another screen, scientists and engineers from both species worked together in Earth labs. They combined their knowledge in ways no one had imagined possible just days before. The Zorans are sending us their complete database on shield technology, a science officer reported. And we're sharing our weapons designs with them. The exchange of information is happening faster than we can process it. Martinez watched as another Vex ship exploded under the combined attack of human and Zoran vessels. Send a message to all fleet commanders, he ordered. Tell them to protect the Zoran ships at all costs. They're not just allies now. They're our best hope for survival. As the battle continued across the solar system, humans and Zorans discovered something unexpected. Their different evolutionary paths had created strengths that perfectly complemented each other. Humans knew how to attack, while Zorans excelled at defense. Together, they were becoming something new, a fighting force, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, and the Vex, for the first time in their history of endless conquest, began to retreat. Admiral Hart stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Orion. Through the large viewports, he could see both human and Zoran ships moving into formation. It was the strangest fleet he had ever commanded, a mix of Earth's most powerful warships alongside the elegant curved vessels of the aliens who had once feared them. Zoran shield integration at 87% across the fleet, reported Lieutenant Sharon Clark from her station. The Phoenix squadrons are showing amazing improvements. Their energy systems are now 340% more efficient with Zoran technology. Hart nodded. And what about the Zoran ships? How are they handling our weapons? Better than expected, sir, Clark replied. Their energy production systems are incredible. They can power our pulse cannons at twice the output our generators could manage. They've spent centuries perfecting energy management instead of weapons. The Admiral watched as the combined fleet moved toward the main Vex battle group. The enemy had pulled back after their initial attacks failed, but sensors showed they were regrouping. At least 30 Vex warships were gathering near Jupiter's orbit. They're preparing for a major assault, Hart said quietly. They didn't expect resistance. Now they're bringing in reinforcements. On the Zoran flagship, Ambassador Zex Tool worked nervously alongside human engineers. The blue-skinned alien still flinched whenever the humans tested the newly installed weapon systems, but he understood the necessity. Your kind evolved so differently from ours, Zexatol observed to Commander Natalie Boyd, who supervised the installation. You developed weapons before you even developed writing. We find this disturbing. Boyd adjusted the targeting computer. And your species evolved with protection as your first priority. We find that surprising. But now, incredibly valuable. Zex Tool's skin rippled with colors, the Zoran way of showing emotion. Perhaps both paths have their value. We could never have survived the Vex alone. Our ships would have been destroyed one by one, and our ships would have taken heavy damage without your shield technology, Boyd admitted. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. The alien touched the new weapon controls with his six-fingered hand. These will really protect my people? Yes, Boyd said simply. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. That's an old human saying. We have no such sayings, Zexatul replied. But perhaps we should learn some. The first real battle with the combined fleet began 3 hours later. Vex ships moved in aggressive attack formations, their black angular hulls looking like deadly weapons themselves. They fired their purple energy beams at the approaching Earth-Zoran fleet, but this time things were different. Human ships, now protected by Zoran shield technology, absorbed the deadly energy weapons without significant damage. The shields glowed bright blue but held firm, and the Zoran vessels, previously helpless targets, now fired back with human weapon systems. Admiral Hart watched from the Orion as the battle unfolded. Status report, he ordered. The Phoenix is taking heavy fire, but shields are holding at 89%, Clark reported. 2 Vex ships destroyed. The Zoran vessels are performing better than expected. They've taken down a Vex cruiser with minimal guidance from our weapons officers. Hart nodded with satisfaction. They're quick learners. Sir, said the tactical officer, I'm noticing something strange. The Zorans aren't just copying our attack patterns, they're improving them. Explain, Hart demanded. Their entire history focused on predicting and avoiding threats, the officer said. They can predict Vex movements with amazing accuracy. They're firing where the enemy will be, not where they are now. Hart watched with growing interest as the Zoran ships moved in perfect coordination, their attacks striking Vex vessels exactly when their shields were weakest. Despite having no history of warfare, the aliens were proving to be natural tacticians. Their defensive algorithms are incredible, Strategic Officer Henry Morris remarked as he studied the data. They can predict Vex attack patterns with 94% accuracy. They've spent their entire existence learning how to avoid being hit, and now they're using that knowledge to hit the enemy instead. The combined fleet pressed forward. Human ships provided raw power and combat experience, while Zoran vessels added precision and protective capabilities. Vex ships, used to either overwhelming their enemies or facing ineffective defense, found themselves in a situation they had never encountered before, facing opponents who could both survive their attacks and strike back effectively. Captain Wells directed the Phoenix through the heart of the battle. Her ship, along with 3 Zoran vessels, formed a tight attack group. The aliens followed her commands precisely. "Target the lead Vex cruiser," she ordered. "Concentrate fire on their engine section." Both human and Zoran weapons fired together. The Vex ship's shields flickered under the assault, then failed completely. A second volley tore through its hull, causing a chain reaction of explosions. "Direct hit," Lieutenant Powell reported. "Enemy vessel destroyed." Wells allowed herself a small smile. "The Zoran ships are performing better than I expected for a species that's never fought before." "They understand patterns, Captain," Powell explained. "They've spent thousands of years predicting attacks so they could escape them. Now they're using that same skill to launch attacks." On the tactical display, Wells could see the battle turning in their favor. Vex ships were breaking formation, some even beginning to retreat. "They didn't expect this," she said. "They've probably never encountered a species that combined defense and offense so effectively." Back on the Orion, Admiral Hart received reports from across the battlefield. 10 Vex ships destroyed, with only 2 human vessels severely damaged and no Zoran ships lost. "The enemy is retreating, Admiral," Clark reported. "They're moving back beyond Saturn's orbit." Hart nodded but didn't celebrate yet. "They'll be back with more ships. This was just their first wave. But now we know we can hurt them." He looked out at the stars, thinking about the strange turn of events. "We've spent our history preparing for threats that never came," he said quietly. "The Zorans spent theirs running from threats they couldn't fight. Together, we might actually have a chance of survival." As the combined fleet regrouped and prepared for the next Vex assault, humans and Zorans continued sharing knowledge and technology. With each passing hour, their ships grew stronger, their tactics better, their alliance deeper. The predators and the prey had united, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the defeat of the Vex invasion force, humans and Zorans gathered in Geneva, Switzerland, for a historic meeting. The large conference hall was filled with people from Earth and blue-skinned aliens from distant stars. They came together to sign the Earth-Zoran Defense Pact, a formal alliance between the two species. Dr. Diana Price, Earth's top expert on alien biology, stood at the podium addressing the crowd. She wore a blue suit with a silver pin showing Earth and the Zoran, homeworld side by side. "What we have learned from the Zorans has changed how we think about life in the universe," she said. "We always believed that all intelligent species must develop through conflict and competition. The Zorans prove this is not true. A species can evolve without predatory instincts and still reach the stars." In the front row, Admiral Hart sat beside Ambassador Zextool. The human and the alien had become friends during the past year, despite their many differences. "Your people have adapted quickly to our shield technology," Zextool said quietly. Hart nodded. "And your engineers have mastered our weapons systems faster than we expected, though I notice most Zorans still seem uncomfortable using them." "We use them because we must," the alien replied. "The universe is not always kind to peaceful species. Your people have taught us this important lesson." High above Earth, the first joint human Zoran patrol ships moved in perfect formation. These new vessels were neither pure warships nor defenseless explorers. They represented something new, ships capable of both strong protection and, when needed, powerful attacks. Captain Wells, now commanding the new flagship Unity, watched from the observation deck as the patrol returned from its mission. The Unity itself was a marvel of combined technology. Zoran defensive systems seamlessly integrated with modified human weapons. "The ships have changed," Ambassador Zextool noted, joining her at the window. "They still carry weapons, but that is no longer their main purpose." Wells nodded. "And your ships now understand that sometimes the best defense requires taking action, not just hiding behind shields." The two leaders watched the beautiful ships move against the backdrop of stars. Human vessels had become more elegant, with curved lines inspired by Zoran design. Zoran ships now carried visible weapons, though smaller and more precisely aimed than their human counterparts. "We feared humans because we could not understand how a species could develop with the ability to attack, yet still choose peace," Zextool admitted. "We thought having weapons meant you would always use them. And we couldn't believe a spacefaring species could survive without developing weapons," Wells replied. "We thought your lack of visible armaments must be a trick." As reports came in about other alien species joining their alliance, some running from the Vex, others simply attracted to this unprecedented partnership, both humans and Zorans realized a profound truth. Different evolutionary paths weren't a weakness but the greatest strength in facing a dangerous universe. 2 years later, when the Vex returned with a massive invasion fleet, they found not the easy targets they expected, but a powerful alliance that combined the best qualities of both human and Zoran evolution, the capacity to protect, and when necessary, the courage to fight. The message sent to the approaching Vex armada came from every Earth and Zoran ship. "We stand united. Turn back or face the consequences of your aggression." The Vex, who had conquered countless worlds over their long history, studied the combined fleet before them. They saw human weapons powered by Zoran energy systems. They saw Zoran shields protecting human attack vessels. They saw something unprecedented: predator and prey species working as one. For the first time ever, the Vex retreated without firing a single shot. As the enemy ships disappeared into deep space, Admiral Hart turned to Ambassador Zextool on the bridge of their joint command ship. "Do you think they'll come back?" The Zoran skin rippled with colors of confidence. "Perhaps. But next time we'll be even stronger." Hart smiled. Together, the alien agreed. And